My name is Ryan Harp, and this is assignment 2 for FTH 202, the Revolver Course. Today is June 15th of 2025, and today's assignment is all about disassembly and the cycle of operations. As you can see, we've got a firearm in the workspace today, so with that being said, safety is paramount. First thing, we check the workspace, make sure there's no live ammunition anywhere in the workspace. Next, we visually and physically inspect the weapon in the chamber. As you can see, no ammunition, barrel is free and clear of obstructions, and we will keep the action open until we start using it. The trigger will not be manipulated, and the barrel will always stay in a appropriate orientation. Of course, we're going to be doing a disassembly, we're using a firearm, so some other areas of PPE that we might want to look at is eye protection. There's a lot of springs, don't want to get hurt. The first step in today's assignment is going to be to remove the side plate. As you can see, we've got the cylinder open, clear, free of any ammunition. We're going to go ahead and close the cylinder just so we can ensure we have a nice, easy surface to work on. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the grip, and to do so, we need to first get out this roll pin right here. So look for the appropriate roll pin punch. And we're just going to drive that punch out, making sure we're over a hole so as not to damage the punch. Got the roll pin out. Move it over to our parts tray. Keep that here for right now. Slowly remove the grip. Keep that right there. Try and keep everything organized in like areas. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and remove the yoke screw retainer. So find the appropriate size driver. All right, so now that we've got the grip and the grip retainer pin removed, the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and remove the yoke retainer. And we're going to do that, ensuring we have the appropriate size driver so we don't chew up the screw. So when this comes out, there'll also be a spring and detent that's in there. All right, now that we got both the retainer pins out, side plate pins out, we'll go ahead and pop this side plate off. Some of them are a little tricky, a little tight, especially being brand new. My tried and true method working on Smith & Wessons is just a rawhide mallet to the opposite side. Got the side plate off, we can see the internals of the revolver. So starting from the handle, we'll move up and then forward as we go. We can see we've got our mainspring here. We've got our hammer. Included in our hammer is our double action sear. We've got our trigger spring, our trigger, our cylinder stop, the hand. As we move up a little bit, we've got the transfer bar, the firing pin assembly, and of course we've got the entire cylinder still in place. So some of the things these parts and pieces do as far as the cycle of operations is, so this transfer bar right here, we can see as the trigger is pulled, it slides up. That allows it to work directly in the firing portion of the cycle of operations. The cylinder right here, as we could see, is directly involved in feeding, chambering, locking, unlocking, and extracting and ejecting. So when it comes to revolver pieces, this may very well be the most used portion. So the cylinder will spin, and then to extract and eject, you just push on the plunger for the extraction and ejection. And then also the part that falls into feeding and chambering is going to be the hand working in action with the cylinder. Next up, we have the firing pin assembly sitting in here. That's directly involved in the firing stage of the cycle of operations. The hammer will rotate, the transfer bar comes up, and as the hammer is released, it makes contact with the transfer bar, striking the firing pin. So the hammer is involved in the firing and cocking phase of the cycle of operations. So, and because it's a double action pistol, it works in two different ways with firing and cocking. One is to manually cock the hammer, and we can see that the hammer sear, I don't know if you could see it in there because the hand's in the way, directly interacts with the sear on the trigger. Then when the trigger is pulled, the hammer rotates forward, striking the transfer bar, pushing the primer into the firing pin into the primer. Or if we're utilizing it in double action, you can see that the sear on the trigger works in tandem with the double action sear, brings it to the point right before it fires, and then when that trigger breaks, it slams forward, striking the transfer bar into the firing pin. The trigger, of course, is directly involved in the cocking and firing stage when you're operating in double action. If you're operating in single action, then it is solely involved in the firing stage. So mainspring, as we look down here, is involved in the firing and the cocking stage. So it puts the tension on the hammer to drive that inertia forward, allowing it to strike. The extractor, again, is directly, which the extractor ejector is directly involved in the extracting and the ejecting stage. So again, we have the hand right here. It sits in a slot and turns the ratchet as the trigger is manipulated, or as the hammer is manipulated. And this is directly involved in the chambering, locking, and it's indirectly involved in the cocking. So then inside of here, I don't know if we can get a focus with the cylinder there. I've got the cylinder free right now, but as the cylinder rotates, you can see the cylinder stop push up into the cylinder, locking it in place. And what we'll do is we'll remove the cylinder so we can try and get a good view of where the cylinder stop sits. Right in here. And the cylinder stop is directly involved in the locking, and it's indirectly involved in the chambering, ensuring that it's locked in the appropriate place. All right, to cycle through all stages of the cycle of operations with the revolver, the first thing we must do is stage one, which is feeding. So in order to feed, we would start with the weapon with a closed cylinder, open that cylinder, again, free and clear. All we have is dummy ammunition, no live ammo. Going to place them into the cylinder. and that would conclude our feeding stage. So now with the rounds fed into the cylinder, our next step would be okay, so now with the chamber fed, the next thing that we're going to do is the cocking stage. And because the cheek plate, side plate, whatever you want to call it, is not on, we're going to use my hand to force to keep the hand in place. We'll use my finger. So as the hammer is pulled back, you can see it unlocks the chamber and drives the mainspring to the rear. The hammer engages with the sear surface on the trigger and the sear on the hammer, and the transfer bar is pushed up. So with that unlocking, it allowed the cylinder to rotate and chamber an appropriate round. When the cylinder got in place, it ended up locking right here on one of these points where it engages with the cylinder stop, which is down in here. So the next step is firing. The trigger is pulled to the rear. The sear disengages with the hammer sear, and a round is fired. So in double action, everything works in tandem with the pull of the trigger. So when the trigger is pulled, the hammer moves to the rear. The hand is pushing the cylinder forward, rotating, unlocking the cylinder stop, allowing the cylinder to rotate and bring the next round into the appropriate and chamber the next round. As it continues, it engages the cylinder stop, which locks the cylinder. And as the trigger is pulled, instead of disengaging with the hammer sear, it is now disengaging with the double action sear, and it just breaks forward, and that completes the firing phase. Now for the extracting and ejecting. So in order to extract and eject, we push on the bolt using the thumb piece, swing the yoke out. Once the yoke has been moved past the firearm, we just push on that spring-loaded extractor rod, and we can eject all of our ammunition. And again, we have empty chambers. That all we have remaining in the firearm is our firing pin, hammer, our hand, our transfer bar, trigger, and cylinder lock. The first thing we're going to do is let's get that firing pin out of place. So all we're going to do is push on the firing pin, grab this retainer pin and slightly pull it out. Go ahead and secure that. When the firing pin comes out, we should also get the spring with the firing pin, as you can see there. So we've got that. Next thing we're going to do is remove the hammer. Just give that a little bit of back and forth. Actually, sorry, can't get the hammer out yet. Next thing we're going to do is remove the hand. When we remove the hand, there's going to be a spring and a detent that'll probably shoot out. Hopefully can contain those so we don't lose them. There they went. All right, so we've got the hand, and there is our spring and our detent. We'll put those back together with that. Now we can slowly remove our hammer. Good. Next thing we're going to remove is the trigger. Coming out easily with the trigger is the cylinder stop. So we've got the trigger and the cylinder stop. And the last thing that we have in place is the transfer bar. The final thing we can remove off of the frame without removing the barrel is going to be the thumb lock. Find the appropriate size bit. It's a very thin screw, and we don't want to gum it up because this is where our thumb is going to use all the time. So just remove that screw. The screw and the thumb lock will come off. Thumb stop, sorry. Inside we'll just have the bolt and the bolt spring. So you can just pull this out. And again, the spring under tension. Try to make sure it doesn't fly. So we got our bolt and bolt spring. Put that with the thumb. So we've got our cylinder completely, or I'm sorry, our frame completely broken down with nothing left in it. Next thing we're going to do is go back to that hammer. So if we keep tension on this hammer, we can remove this double action sear and try not to just let it go flying. So we've got the double action sear and sear spring removed from our hammer. All right, now that we've got everything else done, the next thing is going to be to disassemble the cylinder from the yoke. So we're just going to use some clockwise turns. See the cylinder bar will come out. Spring. Remove the extractor. Now that we've got that all out, it's just a matter of pulling these two pieces apart. May take a little bit of love. All right, and our last spring. So we've got the weapon completely disassembled. We'll lay out all the components. So as you can see, we've got all of our components here separated into useful areas, ensuring that we've got everything ready for reassembly. Now, before reassembly of this firearm, it's going to need a deep cleaning. Don't know what it is about Taurus, but we've got some oxidation right there. Also inside of here around the yoke. So we're going to clean that up, try and get some preventative maintenance done on this firearm so we can use it for the next few weeks.